This is the product red iPhone SE 2020. This is the product red iPhone SE 2020. This particular model is the 128GB variant, which cost me €550, but can be purchased for £469 or $449 US. And yes, the euro and pound are both stronger than the US dollar. I paid the equivalent of $600. The iPhone SE has the same body as the iPhone 8, with two exceptions. The front glass is now black for all color options, and the iPhone SE isn't available in gold, probably because it looked terrible. This phone is, by today's standards, one of the smallest devices on the market with a 4.7-inch display, but is actually well within the range of comfortable use, at least for me anyways. The last iPhone I owned was the iPhone 6s, which I loved. However, it had one fatal flaw. It dies underwater, an issue that became my reality because I was a little too careless at the beach. The SE2, however, is water resistant up to 1 meter, which would have been enough to prevent my previous iPhone's Atlantic misadventure. With the addition of the glass back, I think the iPhone 8's design was where that design silhouette peaked aesthetically. However, it retailed for more than the iPhone 6 and 6s, so I could never really justify purchasing it. And I think this was the case for a lot of people, especially when Huawei was offering such cheap phones in the European market. Something people don't or haven't talked about in quite a while is how well the filleted aluminium edges of the phone feel in the hand. It glides effortlessly along your fingers as you position your hand to press the home button. And even though it dates the phone quite badly, the huge chin and forehead of the device allows some freedom on how you hold the device without touching something on the screen. Back camera is a 12 megapixel 28mm equivalent f1.8 camera. To break that down, 28mm is the focal length from the point in the lens where all the light converges to the point in the sensor, or what it would be if the camera sensor was scaled up to the size of a professional camera's image sensor. Aperture defines how much light gets in, but it's relative to the sensor size, so bigger cameras with the same aperture will still get more light. The front camera is a 7 megapixel camera with an f2.2 aperture lens with a focal length of probably 30 to 35 millimeters. I couldn't find any information about its focal length online, but it's close to the rear camera. The camera can do up to 5 times digital zoom for photos and 3 times digital for video. This camera will also do 4K 60 fps, 1080p 240 fps slow-mo. It has optical image stabilization, extended dynamic range video up to 30 fps. That means your camera will be able to see brighter and darker things together in the same image. You also have smart high dynamic range for photos, as well as photo tagging and support for a new type of photo called HEIF, as well as JPEG. The front camera can do 1080p 30 fps video, portrait mode with the bokeh, or depth of field, also known as background blur, and other associated effects. Of course, the phone features Touch ID instead of the iPhone 10 and up, which has Face ID for unlocking the device. The iPhone SE2 also features Apple Pay and wireless charging thanks to the glorious yet amazingly fragile back glass panel. It looks super good, but also feels like planned obsolescence. They just plan on you dropping the phone, I guess. Something cool about the SE2 is that it has Dolby Vision and supports HDR10 content. This means that all the TV demos on YouTube will look great on your phone, as well as some random Netflix movies. So if you notice they're especially bright or vibrant, well, that's probably why. The iPhone comes with built-in stereo sound, however, one of the bottom speaker grills is either fully or effectively useless, and sound only really comes out of one grill, with the other audio channel actually coming through the earpiece speaker by the front camera. Another of my favorite features of the iPhone is their inclusion of the physical ring/silent hard switch. That's usually a software switch on Android, and it is nice that there is a physical switch for that. One thing to note is the battery is pretty small for today's standards, especially because of Huawei and their devices, which have battery lives which will put this thing to shame. You can probably skip the fast charger though, because the battery is so small, it charges pretty fast. But if that really does matter to you, it's probably going to irritate you to find out that the 18-watt fast charger is unfortunately sold separately. Apple claims up to 8 hours of video streaming, 13 hours of video playback, and 40 hours of audio playback on the iPhone SE. The iPhone SE 2020 also runs iOS 13 out of the box, which comes with tons of accessibility options as well as a wealth of native apps, including Apple Podcasts, Apple TV with a 1-year subscription for new iPhone devices, and they've got all sorts of crazy apps like the weather or the calculator app. If you would like some in-depth videos on apps like Apple Shortcuts or accessibility features, hit that like button to show your support, and subscribe for more technology related content.